Good evening, everyone. This is Nell, and welcome to this evening's webinar. We'll be presenting the University of Nottingham Postgraduate Certificate in Education International. And this is Nell from Stafford. Joining me will be Dr. Rupert Knight, who's the Assistant Professor for the PGCEi.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be with you.
Rupert is over there at Nottingham, and I'll be right here. We'll be discussing the program with you, and we'll start off by introducing who Stafford is. Stafford is going to be the in-country facilitator of the University of Nottingham program. We were established in 1993, and it's a research center for distance learning education in the Middle East. We currently work closely with 5 UK universities, and University of Nottingham is one of them. We offer various programs, including certificates, diplomas, bachelor degree programs, up to the master's level, and even a doctorate. And we offer academic and administrative support to our students. Let's talk about the University of Nottingham. The university is placed joint 70th in the whole world and is ranked as one of the top 1% of universities internationally by the latest QS World University Rankings. They're described as the Times nearest or Britain's truly global university, and is internationally recognized for groundbreaking research and teaching excellence. Now, the program that we'll be discussing for this evening is the PGCEi, which stands for the Postgraduate Certificate in Education International, and is a master's level distance learning program of professional enrichment for educators working in countries other than the UK. The program involves face-to-face meetings with the UK tutors, and Dr. Rupert Knight will be one of them. The course focuses on reflecting on individual practice through theory and enables you to compare teaching approaches in different countries. It consists of 4 modules, and once we move on to this area, I'll have Professor Rupert Knight talk to us about these things, and I'll turn you over to Rupert then.
Okay, thank you very much, Nell. I'll talk to you a little bit about the course now from the university's perspective. I'm here in Nottingham in the UK in a pretty cold climate right now, so it's nice to be joining you. As Nell just said, this is a course that is in some ways a distance learning course, but we would also think of it as being what we'd call a blended learning course, in that we do have those face-to-face teaching days with tutors such as myself who come out to the UAE to work with you. So the course consists of, as you can see here, 4 modules. These are 4 compulsory modules that you complete over a year. And the modules are intended to take you on a journey. So we begin with one that we call Contexts, which is very much about the aims of education, where we consider the purposes of education. What does education mean? What is it for? What are we trying to achieve? We think about some of the values that we might have. And we also think in particular about international education, because this is a course aimed at international educators specifically. Following that first module, we move on to thinking about learning. So we look at different theories of learning, and we compare very, very different ways of thinking about how people learn, and try and look at some of the controversies, some of the debates, some of the very differing perspectives there. Having thought about learning, it's an obvious next step in module 3 to go into to looking at teaching. So we look at approaches to teaching. We look at some of the things that might be relevant in your educational settings. So we think about, for instance, differentiation, planning, working with pupils with special educational needs. And all of these now we can relate back to those theories of learning from module 2. And the culmination of that journey is module 4, which is a project, a mini research project that you carry out in your educational setting, where under the general theme of researching students' understanding of a concept, you are free to come up with your own focus, so something of relevance to you, and you can put into practice all of the things that have come through the preceding modules. So each of those modules is assessed by a 3,000 word assignment. Those assignments are structured for you though, so there is some build-up that goes on. So in each module you submit what we call process work, which is a form of coursework. It's some tasks, some ideas we ask you to respond to as you work through the online materials. And you also submit a proposal to your tutor for each of the assignments. So in other words, you get feedback on process work and proposal before you move to the assignment stage. So we've been able to discuss your ideas, we've been able to clarify misconceptions, and you've had that kind of contact and that building up for yourself. So one outcome of this course is that you can use your credits, if you wish to, towards the University of Nottingham's master's courses. So we have a number of students each year from this particular cohort in the UAE, and it's worth saying we have cohorts around the world doing this kind of course, going on to working on our master's courses. So you can use your credits. If you come onto, for instance, our general MA in education, you can use all 60 of your credits, which is equivalent to a third of that qualification completed already. All of the materials that you're going to need are provided online. So there's a really well-designed course online. It includes not only text, but video footage, very much a multimedia experience that you work through. It's been put together by people from the University of Nottingham who are at the forefront of these kind of ideas internationally. So very high quality materials. The materials themselves that you work through in each module have set readings, films to watch, audio clips, all sorts of things for you to engage with. And they also feature further reading opportunities, which are linked to ebooks from our e-library. So you won't be needing to go to libraries to find physical copies, hard copies of books. There's an extensive range that you're able to access as part of the course electronically. So the role of the tutor, people like myself on this course, is that we offer that individual support through this process. So we come out to the UAE twice a year, once at the very beginning of the course and once halfway through, to teach you face-to-face and to meet you. And then in between times, we're able to interact with you from a distance. We can have tutorials via Skype. We work via email, of course. We give you feedback on those submissions that I've already talked about. But I think the nice thing for us and for you is that we've met you, and this person that you're communicating with is actually a real person, and it's somebody who you've had that face-to-face interaction with. We also ask you to take part in group discussions as part of each module. So there are group forums, and we ask you as part of your tasks as you work through the module to post thoughts to the forum, and then you get the benefit of lots and lots of other students' views on the issue, and you get to share perspectives from a wide range of settings in that way as well. So in terms of entry requirements, we're looking generally for people with bachelor's degree, usually second class honours bachelor's degree as a minimum. There's also an English language requirement. So if English isn't your first language, you would need the IELTS qualification, and you can see there the general 6.5 minimum requirement there for IELTS. You do need to be either an established educator or at the very least somebody who has day-to-day access to a classroom. So that could be in more of a sort of volunteering capacity. But the modules, while they're at master's level and have that sort of academic and theoretical content and level, they are all very much related to things going on in school. So I think that's one of the strengths of the course. The course is not giving you a practical teaching qualification, but it is linking in this theory to what goes on in your classroom. So for that reason, you need to have access to a classroom, because in your assignments, you're going to be drawing on things that you've done, things that you've seen, and making those kind of connections. It's also worth saying, we've just talked there about the basic entry requirements, but we do also consider non-standard applications. So if your profile doesn't quite fit that profile, but you, for example, have extensive experience in schools, it's probably still worth applying, and we can look at those on a case-by-case basis. So applications will come through Stafford Global. You can see here the standard things. I won't read everything on this slide, but you can see here the kind of things that you're going to need in your application. And as with any academic qualification that you're applying for, the personal statement, of course, is going to be quite important. So that's where you should really make sure that you explain your motivation for doing the course, but also how your prior experience prepares you for this, what you hope to get out of the course, perhaps any transferable skills that have come from previous work that you have. So in the UAE, we work with Stafford on two intakes, two cohorts per year, and we usually start those in October and March. So we recently were over in the UAE probably 6 weeks ago, starting off our October cohort. So the next cohort starting is going to be March 2017. You can see here the application deadlines. So the middle of January, 18th of January, is the deadline for that next cohort. Places are limited. There is a cap on the numbers we can take, so it is worth applying quite soon. The program itself and your access to all those kind of materials I've mentioned begins on the 1st of March. And in that next cohort, the face-to-face workshops, the first ones are 24th and 25th of March. So as you can see, just in the very first weeks of the course, you get to meet your tutors, you get to have that face-to-face tuition. And the second sessions are in October, early October, where we will come back again halfway through the course there. You can see here also the fees as part of that application process. So I hope that's been a useful brief overview. We can see that there are people joining us on the webinar, and we've got questions no doubt coming in. So I'm going to pass over to Nell, who's going to coordinate those questions, pass them on, and I'll do my best to answer them for you.
Thank you very much, Rupert, for that presentation regarding the program. Now, we are open to any questions or queries that you might have regarding the course. You feel free to type it in, and we'll be more than happy to answer them for you. We have the first question here from Amber. Will my degree certificate and transcript state online distance learning? Rupert?
Yeah, hi Amber, thanks for that question. It's a really good question, and the answer is no, it doesn't state that. So you would have your PGCEi qualification from University of Nottingham, but it does not state that it is a distance learning course.
Thank you. We move on to the next question. From Joel. Are original certificates required for application, or are digital copies accepted?
I believe we can accept the digital copies. So yes, that is a very relevant question, but I believe the digital copies are fine.
Thank you, Rupert. We have another question. Here it says, can I teach in the UK after completing the PGCEi? Rupert, go ahead.
Okay, hi again, Amber. Yeah, this is a really common question and an understandable question. So one thing to bear in mind, as I've said earlier, is that this is a course which is covering the academic aspects of learning about teaching and all that's involved there. it isn't giving you a practical teaching qualification. So there is no involvement with us in terms of us seeing you in school or assessing performance in school. So therefore, it's not giving you a practical teaching qualification, such as a qualified teacher status or a teacher's license in that sense. So in terms of can you teach in the UK, the answer is it varies. There is a standard qualification in the UK, for example, QTS, Qualified Teacher Status, which is used in most of the state school sector. However, outside of that, in the private school sector, that is not necessarily required. In private international schools, that's not necessarily required. And increasingly, schools in the UK have freedom to accept people without qualified teacher status. So the answer is there. It does not give you qualified teacher status, but in certain schools in the UK, certain types of school, you may still be able to teach in the UK.
Okay, thank you very much, Rupert. The next question is from Sangita. I heard the modules are very difficult. Will she get enough support?
Okay, well, hi Sangeeta. Yeah, the modules are challenging, as you'd expect for this level of a course, but we work really hard, particularly in that first face-to-face teaching session, those 2 days that you have in March. We work very hard to work on people's academic skills, people's academic writing. Sorry, my light has gone off in my room. I need to just move around. There we are. Otherwise, it's going to look very strange. Yeah, so we work really hard on those academic writing skills, and you get support from your tutor, not only at the face-to-face session, but through the process work feedback. For example, also one thing I haven't mentioned is that you also have, for the first assignment you write, you have the opportunity to submit a draft of the assignment, which we give you detailed feedback on. So there's an example of a way that we support you towards that writing. So your tutor is there, your tutor is always there as a means of support. And we encourage at the first face-to-face meeting, an important part of that is meeting your peers, meeting your fellow students from the course. So we encourage you to form kind of study networks as well, where you can collaborate together and support each other on that.
Thank you, Rupert. The next question is from Maria. She is currently a teaching assistant and wants to move on to a teaching career. And she knows she wants to find out, even though her undergraduate is in a different specialization, can she join the course?
Yeah, that's fine. We don't specify exactly what subjects you need to have in your undergraduate. So as long as you have that connection to schools, and if you're a teaching assistant already in school, then clearly you do, then you should be absolutely fine with that.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Rouge. Can I cope up with the course along with my job?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, because of course, whenever you have a job, especially if it's a full-time job, it's very hard to imagine how you can study on top of that. I know this myself, when I was teaching in schools myself, I've studied for a master's qualification and a doctorate as well while I've been working full-time. So I know exactly what you mean by that and any concerns there. So all I can say is that year after year we have all of these successful students coming from this course who have managed to strike that balance. So it is going to be a year of hard work, but it is something that other students have found that they can keep up with and that they can manage. If exceptional circumstances happen and something really unforeseen happens to do with illness, or it's a major thing to do with a change of role at your work, then you can talk to us about extensions or pausing on the course if that's necessary. But we think you will be able to cope with this. And the other thing I would say about this is the course is aiming to get you thinking about issues that go on in your job, in your school. So as opposed to being completely separate and detached from your role, you should find that through the year, it helps you in your role as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Rupert. I think Amber's question and Rouge are quite similar. They're asking. It says here, will the modules require any practicals? Like tutors will assess me in the actual classroom?
Okay, so no, the modules will require you to be in classrooms to gather maybe information that you're going to write about. So the different modules will require you to refer to things from the classroom. So in that sense, there's involvement there in school, but there is no practical assessment of you in school. Tutors from the course don't visit you in school. So in that sense, there is no assessment of you as a teacher in the classroom.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Gasmi is asking, can I enroll in the course with a diploma in childhood education and her 8 years of experience teaching?
Okay, so that's the kind of case where I mentioned before we would look at things on a case-by-case basis. It's difficult to comment specifically without seeing your whole application, of course, but in general terms, I would say that's something that we would be interested in looking at because you clearly do have huge experience in the classroom, and that's possibly something that we can take into account. So in that sort of situation, I would encourage you to apply because it may be a case where we can look at your experience instead of that full degree qualification.
Okay, thank you. Afshan, the question is regarding a TESL diploma. If the certificate is equivalent to this TESL diploma.
So if we're talking about teaching English as a second language diploma here, there will be, of course, in courses like this, at this sort of master's level, there will be some commonality. But this course is far more general. So while that might be your particular field of expertise, and you may be able to draw on that, this is a different type of course. It's aimed at a far more a broader and more general understanding of education that is applicable across all settings. So in that sense, possibly a wider and more useful qualification to go alongside something more specific like that.
Okay, thank you very much, Rupert. Now, Maria's question, the hours a week she needs to spend in studying, if she can still keep her job while she's studying for the course.
Yeah, so this relates to what we said earlier about that work-life balance and being able to study. So of course you will need to make some extra hours for studying. Some people will do something like they'll have a whole day at the weekend where they will devote an entire day to an intensive period of study. Others, for different reasons, for perhaps their work habits or family commitments or other things, will tend to do small amounts each evening. So you will need to be working on this on a regular basis. You will need to commit a certain amount of time each week, and it's important to get into some sort of routine with that. But as I was saying earlier, we know from experience every year that it is doable. At the last cohort that we introduced a few weeks back in October, we actually invited along a past student from the previous year to talk to our new students, and we specifically asked her to talk about her experiences. And I really remember she was saying, when I was sitting here last year, I was really worried about would I cope and would I be able to do this, and here I am, I've just passed the course, and I can tell you it is possible. And that was her big message. So it's hard work, but we know from past experience that yes, it's possible to do this with your job.
Okay, thank you very much, Rupert. We have a couple of questions here that seem to be related. It's regarding the respective ministries of education by the countries, if it that's generally accepted by their local ministries. Would you care to answer that, Rupert, please? Yeah.
Yeah, so again, this is a question a bit like the one we had about teaching in the UK, where it's difficult to give a single answer here. So we know this course is recognised in different parts of UAE and various different countries. We know that it's helped people in the past to get teaching jobs. What it isn't, though, and to reiterate what I've said before, it isn't a teacher's license. It isn't that practical teaching qualification. So in terms of whether it opens the door directly to you getting a job in a school as that qualification, that's something that people need to check in their individual regions, but also more particularly with their individual schools. So things change. We know in the UAE, for example, there's some piloting going on of some teacher licensing. So things are changing all the time there. But we know that in the past this has been a useful qualification that has enabled people to step into those roles. But my big advice, wherever you want to teach, not only in your local region, but all over the world, is just to check on the local requirements of schools there, and just to make sure that this is something that will open the door that you want it to.
Okay, thank you very much for answering that question. We move on to the next one. Is it necessary to give the IELTS test, if they've completed a TEFL or TEYL course?
We would have to look at that again on a case-by-case basis. It will very much depend on whether English is your first language there. So I think we would have to look at that at an individual application level.
Okay, the next one is, do we need to choose our levels, like EYFS or primary or secondary teaching, while they're doing the course?
Okay, so we expect that everybody on the course will be working in a particular age phase. The content of the course is general. It's applicable to teaching children in kindergarten age, in early years, right through to teaching adults. So all of your age phases you work in will be equally suitable. What you'll do is, when you write about things for your assignments and for your tasks, you will be writing from the perspective of that particular age phase. So if you're working, for example, in primary education or elementary education, you will be writing about things from your setting, from your age group, that have that primary focus. So you can bring in your age phase into your work, whatever the phase is.
Okay, thank you very much. From Amber, she's asking if she can attend lectures at the actual university.
Okay, Amber, well, it'd be great to see you in Nottingham. There are no lectures in Nottingham as part of this course. What I would say, though, is you can, if you pursue the idea I mentioned earlier about moving on to the MA course afterwards, you could certainly work at the University of Nottingham and come to lectures here as part of that course. So, for example, every year we run summer schools, so usually around early July, people come and study a module here as an intensive week-long course, and we have people from all over the world who come here for studying in that way. So as part of the PGCEi course, there is no component that is in Nottingham, but there's certainly scope to come after that. And of course, you can also opt before that to come for your graduation here at Nottingham, and it's always great. We have graduation from our last cohort coming up the day after tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to seeing a few people who've come over for graduation.
Good, great. Next will be Sangita's question is, do we get any sample modules to get an idea about the presentation?
Well, once you're on the course, Sangita, we at the first face-to-face meetings, as well as all the tuition that we do, we also do look at some samples of previous work, and we analyze what made those successful or ways that they could be improved. So we have samples in that sense that we can work through. We don't have those prior to the course for you, but I would suggest that there may be, depending on the school or college that you work in, there may be people who've come through this course in the past, and they may be able to show you some of their materials. But really, we would begin to look at sample work at the start of the course in March.
Okay, thank you. Amber's asking if it's possible to complete the program in less than 12 months.
Yeah, so it's another good question. Yeah, it is possible to complete the course sooner. What you would do is, when you've begun the course, we'd encourage you to negotiate with your tutor, and you can agree some earlier deadline dates. What we normally say is it's just to see how long it's going to take, because until you start something like this, it's quite hard to predict the workload. It's quite hard to predict how comfortable that's going to feel for you. So usually, as a guidance, we would say, have a go at the first module. If you found that you've coped with the deadlines quite easily there, then you can certainly negotiate, and you can bring the deadlines forward by negotiation and complete sooner.
Okay, so it's possible. That's good to know. Gasmi's question, I believe, is related to summer school. How can I attend modules in July? And
Okay,
the
so
procedures. Yeah.
I'm just going to have to I'm going to have to move again, so my light comes on.
Okay.
In this office, we have automatic lights. It's an energy saving device. So if I don't move, the light goes off. So okay, so there are no face-to-face teaching events in July and August that you attend. But if you were referring to what I mentioned about summer school, that's relating to the MA course that you might want to move on to after the PGCEi. And as part of the PGCEi communications and teaching, we always talk about the MA. We talk about ways that you can move ahead and continue with your studies.
Thank you, Rupert. Next one is from Rouge. How long does it usually take to receive your PGCEi certificate after completing the course?
So there are, the university has various exam boards and graduation points through the year. So depending on when you finish your course, your results will be put through the next exam board, and then they're eligible for the next graduation period. So it's usually something like a couple of months after you finish. Prior to that, you will have confirmation of completing the course. So often that's really useful if people are using this in terms of perhaps a job change or something to do with employment. You can certainly have communications that prove that you've completed the course successfully. But in terms of your official certificate that you receive, the hard copy, that will come out and be generated through the graduation process. So to give you an example, some of our students on the last cohort that started previous October, they finished their final work around July, and they could receive their certificate in October. So it depends exactly when you finish, but it's usually around about a couple of months afterwards. But you'll have immediate confirmation, or almost immediate confirmation.
Thank you, Rupert. Next question is about payments. I believe I'll be able to help Ikichuku's question. I'll answer it for him. For payment options, I saw in the forum where a candidate should put in credit card details. So we have several payment options for you that's available: card or bank transfer, or whichever you're comfortable with. So we can gladly discuss these options with you once you've started with your application to the program. Would we have other questions in the box? We're just waiting for a few more questions, and if everyone doesn't have any more questions, then I guess we'd have to conclude the webinar for the evening. Oh, here's another one from Afsan. Could this course cover part of the MATESL in Canada full-time? Rupert?
That's quite hard to answer specifically. As I said, the coverage will be much more general than that MA TESOL qualification. I know that, for example, the University of Nottingham has its own MA in this area, and you can certainly use credits from PGCEi towards our version of that MA course. In terms of an option in Canada, however, I think you need to check with the universities in Canada for their own specific entry requirements.
Thank you very much. So would we have other questions from our attendees this evening? Just wait for them. Okay, I believe we've answered most of their questions, it seems, Rupert.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
It's been really nice. I haven't got to meet any of you, but thank you all of the people that have sent in questions, and I hope that's been useful, and I hope that we see you in future on the course, and you know, it'd be great to meet you face to face.
Thank you very much once more, everyone, for joining this evening's webinar. And Rupert, you have a wonderful afternoon over there.
Okay, thank you very much, Nell. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you too. Bye-bye.